AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé be in my wedding after what happened at the bridal shower. I, 29F, have been engaged to my fiancé, Tom, 31M, for about a year now. We've been together for 6 years, and I'm really excited to get married next summer. We've been working on planning the wedding together, and so far everything has been going well. My sister, Amanda, 27F, has been involved in the planning process here and there, mostly just offering opinions or helping with some small tasks. Amanda got engaged last year to her boyfriend, Jake, 28M. When they got engaged, I was really happy for her and genuinely wanted to help celebrate. The problem started about 3 months ago when Amanda asked me to host her bridal shower. I was happy to do it because I'm close to my friends and thought it would be a fun chance to bring everyone together. I made all the arrangements, picked a venue, sent out invites, and planned everything from decorations to the food. The day of the shower was tense from the start. Amanda arrived late, visibly annoyed, and her fiancé, Jake, showed up with her. The problem was that Jake wasn't supposed to come because Amanda and I had agreed that it would be a ladies-only event. Amanda didn't inform me or the other guests that Jake would be there, so most of the women were surprised and uncomfortable. I asked Amanda why he was there, and she said it was because Jake felt left out and wanted to support her. I told her I was disappointed she didn't respect our agreement and that it changed the whole vibe of the party. During the shower, Jake was loud and disruptive. He interrupted conversations, made inappropriate jokes, and even criticized some of the gifts Amanda received, which embarrassed her in front of everyone. At one point, he grabbed the microphone, we had a karaoke setup, and started singing loudly, completely hijacking the event. Many guests looked uncomfortable, and some even quietly left early. I was mortified and tried to defuse the situation, but Jake only got worse after drinking a bit. After the party, Amanda was furious with me for ruining her bridal shower by complaining about Jake. She told me I was being selfish and didn't care about her feelings or her relationship. She said that Jake was important to her and that I should have been more understanding. I tried to explain that it wasn't about Jake personally, but about the disruption and disrespect of the original plan, but she wasn't having it. She blocked me on social media and hasn't spoken to me since. Here's the kicker. A few weeks ago, Amanda came to me and asked if Jake could be a groomsman in my wedding. I told her absolutely not after how he acted at the shower. She said I was overreacting and that Jake was a grown adult who was just trying to have fun. I said I want my wedding to be a happy, stress-free day, and I don't want anyone there who might cause drama or disrespect me or my fiancé. Amanda accused me of trying to control her and her relationship and told me she might not come to the wedding if Jake isn't included. My fiancé Tom supports my decision and agrees that Jake's behavior was unacceptable. Our parents have mixed feelings. Some think I'm being too harsh. Others think Jake was out of line. Friends who were at the shower mostly side with me, but a few think I should be more forgiving since it's my sister's fiancé. I feel bad that my relationship with Amanda has deteriorated so much, but I also feel like I'm justified in setting boundaries, especially when it comes to my wedding. I'm not sure if I'm being the asshole here for refusing to let Jake be in the wedding party or for how I handled the bridal shower situation. So, AITA? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of the guest list. So, this is a long one, and I'll try to be as detailed and fair as possible. I, 29F, have a sister, 31F, who I've always had a complicated relationship with. We were close growing up, but as adults, things got tense due to some family drama and personality clashes. Recently, she got engaged, and honestly, I was excited for her at first. But then the drama started around the wedding plans, and I've ended up in a situation where I'm being painted as the villain. Here's the background. My sister, let's call her Emily, is marrying her fiancé, Mike, after dating for about 2 years. Emily and I have very different social circles and values. She's super outgoing, loves large social events, and Mike's family is very extroverted too. I'm more introverted and have had some serious issues with certain people in our extended family. The problem is that Emily has invited some of these people to the wedding. People who have, over the years, made my life miserable in subtle and not so subtle ways. To give some context, these problem guests are mostly cousins and distant relatives who have a history of being extremely judgmental, spreading rumors, and generally making me feel unwelcome and uncomfortable at family gatherings. One cousin in particular, Lisa, has been consistently rude and passive-aggressive toward me, even after I've tried to be cordial. There was an incident a few years ago at a family reunion where Lisa publicly humiliated me over something minor, and it still stings. Since then, I've avoided any situation where I have to be around her. When Emily sent out the guest list for comments, I hesitated but tried to voice my concerns. I told her that I was uncomfortable around certain people and asked if it might be possible to limit those invites or at least not seat me near them. I wasn't asking for them to be uninvited, just some consideration for my comfort. Emily basically said that the wedding was about her and Mike, not me, and she had every right to invite whoever she wanted. She also said I was being unreasonable and selfish for even bringing it up. I tried to be understanding, but when the invitations went out, all those people were indeed invited, and I was expected to just deal with it. I spoke to my parents, hoping they might mediate, but they sided with Emily, saying that weddings are happy occasions, and I should put my feelings aside for one day. I started thinking about attending the wedding and realized the stress it was causing me. The thought of being trapped at a formal event with people who have actively hurt me in the past made me anxious and upset. I even tried to talk to Emily again about it, saying I might not be able to attend because of how I felt. She accused me of threatening not to come and said that she was disappointed I wouldn't support her on her big day. Now, here's the kicker. I decided not to attend the wedding. I wrote Emily a heartfelt message explaining my reasons and apologizing for any hurt feelings. I told her that I wanted to be there, but I couldn't face the people who have made me feel so unwelcome for so long. I offered to meet up with her and Mike separately to celebrate, but I just couldn't do the wedding itself. Emily's reaction has been severe. She called me selfish, accused me of trying to steal attention away from her, and said I was embarrassing the family. My parents and some other relatives have also expressed disappointment, saying I'm making a big deal out of nothing and that weddings are supposed to be joyful, not a platform for airing grievances. A few relatives who were invited but knew about the tension have reached out to me, some sympathetic, some saying I'm overreacting. I understand that a wedding is important to Emily and Mike, but I can't shake the feeling that my feelings and mental well-being are being dismissed just because it's her day. I'm conflicted because I want to support my sister, but at what cost to my own comfort and peace of mind? I've had people tell me that family means you put aside personal feelings, while others have told me I have every right to protect myself. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of who she invited, even though it means causing tension in the family. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she completely cut me out of the planning and then demanded I help pay for it. So, here's a bit of backstory. I'm 29F, and my sister, 31F, is getting married in a few months. We've always had a complicated relationship. Nothing crazy, just typical sibling rivalry and some disagreements over the years, mostly about life choices and how we communicate. But I've always tried to be there for her when it mattered. She got engaged about a year ago, and right after the announcement, she started planning her wedding. I was really excited at first, but very quickly, I realized she wasn't including me in any of it. No invites to planning meetings, no casual, "Hey, what do you think about this?" texts, nothing. I asked her a few times if she wanted my help or input, and she said she had everything under control and was keeping the planning a surprise to make it more fun for everyone. I thought maybe she was just trying to be organized and wanted to surprise me later, so I didn't push. Months went by, and I learned everything about the wedding through social media or from my parents. The venue, the theme, the dress code, even the guest list. It felt like I was completely cut out. Meanwhile, she started dropping hints on social media about how family contributions were appreciated and encouraged, which rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't bring it up with her because I wasn't even on the radar for being involved, so it felt weird to offer money for something I wasn't part of planning. Then, about 2 months ago, I got a group text from her with a detailed spreadsheet of wedding expenses and a list of people who were expected to contribute. My name was on it with a suggested amount that was pretty steep for me, considering my financial situation right now. I messaged her privately to say I wasn't comfortable contributing, especially since I'd been left out of everything. I also mentioned that I wasn't sure I wanted to attend if I wasn't genuinely wanted or involved. Her response shocked me. She told me that family members were supposed to contribute because the wedding was a family affair, and that if I didn't help pay, I wasn't welcome. She also said that me not being involved was because I never made any effort to be, and that the whole thing was about her and her fiancé, not me. She basically blamed me for being excluded. I was hurt and confused. I decided not to attend the wedding. I told her I wasn't comfortable being part of something that didn't include me and where my relationship with her clearly wasn't a priority. I also made it clear that I wasn't refusing out of spite, but because I felt disrespected and undervalued. Our parents tried to mediate, saying I should put aside feelings and just be there for my sister's big day. They said weddings are stressful and maybe she just wanted to keep things simple. They also said contributing money was a family tradition in our culture and that I should honor that. I told them I understood but couldn't agree. I even offered to do something else to celebrate with my sister before or after the wedding, something low-key and separate from the big day, but she refused. She said the wedding day was the only important moment and that I'd already made my choice. Now, a bunch of family members have taken sides, and there's this weird tension at every family gathering. Some say I'm being petty and should just go and support my sister. Others say I'm justified because she clearly excluded me and then tried to guilt me for money. Honestly, I'm torn. I don't want to lose my relationship with my sister or cause family drama. But I also feel like my feelings matter, and I shouldn't be forced into something that makes me uncomfortable, especially after being shut out for so long. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding and not contributing to the expenses after she cut me out of the planning and then demanded money. AITA for refusing to let my sister stay at my house after she lost her job and insisted on bringing her 3 kids without any notice. This whole situation has been an absolute nightmare, and I need some perspective because my family is divided, and I'm not sure if I'm the jerk here. I, 38M, live in a fairly modest 3-bedroom house with my wife, 35F, and our 2 kids, 8M and 5F. We've worked really hard to get where we are and keep everything comfortable and stable. My sister, Anna, 33F, has always been the kind of person who drifts from one job to the next and never really saves money. She has 3 kids, ages 10, 7, and 3, who she's a single mom to. About 2 weeks ago, Anna called me out of the blue. She said she lost her job unexpectedly and was having trouble finding something new because of the current economy. She sounded desperate and asked if she and the kids could stay with me for a little while until she got back on her feet. I told her honestly that I didn't think it was a good idea because our house is small, and with 2 kids already, it would be very tight to have 5 extra people here. I also mentioned that it would be hard for my wife, who worked from home, to handle that many kids around. Anna sounded upset, but said she understood. I thought that would be the end of it. Fast forward a few days, and I get a text from my wife saying that Anna just showed up at our house with her 3 kids in tow. No heads up, no call, just showed up. She said she wanted to figure it out in person and stay for a few days. I was furious. My wife was caught off guard, and the kids were overwhelmed with the sudden influx of extra children running around. I went outside to talk to Anna, and I tried to be calm. I told her again that we just don't have the space or resources for her and the kids right now, especially without any warning. I said she should have asked first and that it's unfair to just show up like this. She snapped back, saying she didn't have anywhere else to go, and we're family, so we should help her out. My wife was on the verge of tears. She said the house was chaos, and she couldn't focus on her work with 5 kids here, making noise all day. I tried to help by suggesting we look for local resources, shelters, community centers, maybe friends or family who could help, but Anna refused to consider anything else. We ended up agreeing she could stay for 2 nights, just to give her a bit of breathing room while she figured out her next step. But then she stretched it into 5 nights. The kids were everywhere, on the furniture, eating all our food, and our house was a mess. My wife and I felt like we were living in a daycare. I finally confronted Anna and told her she needed to leave. She got really defensive and said I was being selfish and abandoning family in a time of need. She said I wasn't really family if I was going to turn her away like this. I didn't know what to say. I told her I love her and the kids, but we have boundaries and need to respect our household. My parents and some other family members have since weighed in. Some say I'm being cold and should be more supportive, especially since she's going through a tough time. Others agree that it's not reasonable to just impose on someone's home without planning and consideration. I feel stuck because I want to help Anna, but I also have to protect my family's well-being and mental health. We aren't rich or living in a mansion. My wife is struggling with the stress, and my kids are confused by the sudden change. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister stay indefinitely without any notice, and for setting firm boundaries about how long she and her kids can be here. I'm open to hearing all sides because, honestly, this whole thing has left me emotionally drained. AITA for refusing to let my brother and his fiancée use my house for their wedding after what they did at my engagement party. So I, 28F, bought my first house last year. It's not huge, but it's a cozy 3-bedroom place with a big backyard that I've been working really hard to make nice. I've been putting in garden lights, fixing up the patio, planting flowers, the whole thing. My fiancé, 30M, and I have been slowly turning it into our dream home. My older brother, Jake, 32M, got engaged around the same time I did. He and his fiancée, Melissa, 29F, decided they want to have a rustic backyard wedding and asked if they could use my house as the venue. They said they loved how charming my yard was and how it would save them thousands on renting a place. Now, I actually considered saying yes at first. I like helping family, and Jake and I have always been pretty close. But then I remembered what happened at my engagement party just 3 months ago, which still makes my blood boil. We hosted the party at a rented venue. It wasn't anything extravagant, just family and close friends, about 40 people. Everything was going fine until Melissa started getting visibly irritated halfway through. She kept making comments about how over-the-top the decorations were and how some people don't know when simple is better. Then, during the toast, my fiancé made this really sweet speech about us buying our home together and how it was a symbol of our future. Afterward, Melissa stood up, clinked her glass, and said she wanted to make an announcement too. She literally said, "Since we're all here celebrating love, Jake and I thought this would be the perfect time to share our exciting news. We've picked our wedding date." Everyone clapped at first, but then she kept talking. She said, "We're planning something even more meaningful than a rented hall. We want something intimate and authentic. We're thinking of a backyard wedding, maybe even at a house that already has love built into it." Then she winked at me. I laughed awkwardly, thinking she was joking, but she doubled down. Later that night, she actually came up to me and asked if she and Jake could use my backyard for their wedding. At my engagement party, in front of guests. I was stunned. My fiancé looked like he wanted to disappear. My parents pulled me aside later and told me to just let it go because Melissa didn't mean to steal the spotlight. After that night, things were awkward, but I didn't say no right away. I just told them I'd think about it. Fast forward to last month. Jake and Melissa came over with notebooks and wine, saying they wanted to plan things together. I assumed they meant helping me with my wedding stuff, but nope. They started measuring my backyard and taking pictures. Melissa even asked if we could temporarily move my patio furniture for their decor ideas. She said, "Oh, and don't worry, we'll totally clean up after. It'll be like it never happened." I tried to be polite, but I finally said, "Guys, I haven't agreed to this yet." Melissa rolled her eyes and said, "We're family. You're not really going to make us pay thousands for a venue when you literally have the perfect one right here, are you?" That rubbed me the wrong way. Still, I told him I'd discuss it with my fiancé. He was very against it. He reminded me how Melissa hijacked our party and said he didn't want their wedding interfering with ours, since ours is a few months before theirs. So I called Jake and told him no, that we weren't comfortable hosting a wedding at our house. He got really quiet and said he understood, but Melissa was livid. She started a group chat with my parents, me, and Jake, and sent a long message about how selfish I was being. She said she'd already told her family they'd found the perfect venue, and backing out now would humiliate them. My parents, of course, sided with her. My mom said, "It's one day, honey. You don't even have to do anything. Think of how happy your brother will be." I told her it's not about the work. It's about boundaries and respect. Things blew up when Melissa posted on Facebook about how families should support each other instead of gatekeeping happiness. People who don't even know the full story commented things like, "Some people just don't know generosity when they see it." I was furious. I called Jake and told him if Melissa didn't take the post down, I was done with both of them. He apologized and said she was just emotional, but that she wasn't taking it down. A few weeks later, I hosted a small barbecue for my fiance's birthday. Guess who showed up uninvited? Jake and Melissa. They walked straight into the backyard like it was theirs and started pointing things out again. Melissa said, "Imagine the ceremony right here. So beautiful." I lost it. I told them to leave immediately and that they were no longer welcome at my house until they learned to respect boundaries. Jake texted me later that night, saying I embarrassed him in front of people and that I ruined Melissa's vision. My parents called me again, saying I was overreacting and that it wasn't that big a deal. But honestly, it is a big deal to me. This is my home. It's my safe space. I worked for years to afford it, and the idea of them trampling through it with 80 wedding guests, tents, and catering setups makes me anxious. Not to mention, they've shown zero respect for my feelings since day one. Now my whole family is divided. Half say I'm being selfish and holding a grudge over something that happened months ago, while the other half, mostly my friends and fiancé, say I'm completely justified. Jake and Melissa still haven't found another venue, and they keep sending me pictures of budget backyard setups with captions like, "See, it wouldn't even mess up your grass." At this point, I don't even want them at my own wedding because of how toxic this has become. But part of me wonders if I went too far when I kicked them out that night. My parents keep saying I should apologize and let it go, but I can't shake the feeling that they've been manipulating me this entire time. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my brother and his fiancée use my house for their wedding after what they did at my engagement party. AITA for refusing to let my sister and her fiancé use my house for their dream wedding after they promised they'd take care of everything but didn't. So, for context, I, 32F, bought my first house about 2 years ago. It's a small farmhouse that needed a lot of work, but I've been pouring my time, money, and sweat into fixing it up. It sits on about 2 acres with a really nice garden and a big old oak tree that kind of makes the whole place look like it belongs on a postcard. My parents and younger sister, Tara, 28F, were super supportive when I bought it, though Tara has made comments over the years about how lucky I was to afford it on my salary. I'm a nurse who worked double shifts for years to save up for it, so it wasn't exactly luck. Tara got engaged last spring to her fiancé, Jake, 30M. They've been together for 4 years and are planning a big outdoor wedding. A few months ago, they came to me with what they thought was an amazing idea. They wanted to have their wedding in my backyard. They said the oak tree would be the perfect backdrop, and it would save them tons of money on a venue. I didn't say no right away, but I told them I'd think about it. After considering it for a week, I told them I'd be okay with it if they agreed to a few conditions. Mainly, they'd have to rent portable restrooms, since my house only has 1 bathroom. They need to hire a cleanup crew or do it themselves right after. They need to rent tents or flooring so my lawn wouldn't get completely destroyed. They'd cover any damage to the property. Tara said that was all totally fine, and she and Jake were so grateful. She promised they'd take care of everything, and that I wouldn't need to lift a finger. Fast forward about 2 months, and red flags start popping up. I asked if they'd booked the portable restrooms, and Tara said, "Oh, we're probably not doing that. People can just come inside. It's family." I reminded her that we're talking about 100+ guests, and my plumbing can't handle that. She brushed me off, saying I was overreacting. Then I noticed they hadn't rented tents or flooring either. When I asked, Tara said the rental costs were crazy, and she figured my lawn would be fine as long as people don't wear heels. I told her that wasn't how it worked and that they needed to take care of it, but she got defensive and said I was making it difficult for no reason. At this point, I was getting really uneasy, but I didn't want to be the bad guy, so I told her she needed to get those things sorted or I couldn't host the wedding. She told me I was being selfish and acting like a landlord. A couple weeks later, my parents invited me over for dinner. During the meal, my mom said, "So, Tara told us you're not being very flexible about the wedding. Can't you just let them use the bathroom?" It's one day. I tried explaining the plumbing issue again, but my dad said I was being dramatic and that family helps family. When I mentioned the lawn and damage concerns, my mom rolled her eyes and said, "Grass grows back." The conversation ended with me feeling like a monster. Tara stopped talking to me for almost a month. Then, out of nowhere, she texted saying they'd figured it all out and that the wedding was happening at my place in October. No question mark, just a statement. I replied saying I hadn't agreed to that, but she sent back, "We've already sent the invites. Don't make this a bigger deal than it needs to be." I was furious. I called her, and she acted shocked that I was upset. She said she assumed my earlier maybe meant yes, and that she didn't want to stress me out with all the planning details. When I told her I was not comfortable hosting, she accused me of ruining her dream wedding. For the next week, my parents called multiple times to tell me to just let it happen, and that Tara was too stressed to deal with drama. My dad said, "You have a big yard. You won't even notice they were there." My mom even offered to help supervise cleanup, which honestly just made me more anxious because she's never lifted a finger to clean up after parties. When I finally said no, clearly, firmly, and without wiggle room, Tara completely lost it. She screamed at me over the phone that I was jealous because she was getting married before me, and that I don't even use the yard for anything important. Then she posted a long rant on Facebook about people who pretend to support your happiness but show their true colors when it's inconvenient. A bunch of her friends and even some extended family started commenting things like, "It's just one day, and you should be honored." I thought that was the end of it, but then my neighbor called me last week while I was at work to say there were people in my yard measuring and taking photos. I rushed home and found Tara and Jake there with a wedding planner. I told them to get off my property, and Tara said, "You're seriously going to make this harder than it needs to be?" I told her that if she stepped foot on my property again without permission, I'd call the police. That finally seemed to hit her. She started crying, said I was destroying her dream, and left. My parents have been cold to me ever since, saying I humiliated Tara in front of her fiancé. Now, the wedding is next weekend, and they found a new venue, apparently a local park, but my mom told me they had to downgrade everything because it was last minute. She said I should feel guilty that Tara won't get the day she wanted. I'll admit, I feel terrible that things blew up like this. I didn't want to cause family drama, and I know how much weddings mean to some people. But I also didn't want to risk thousands in property damage or spend months fixing my plumbing because 100 guests flushed my toilet. My coworkers say I did the right thing and that Tara was being manipulative. My best friend says she would have laughed them off the moment they said they weren't getting bathrooms. But my parents are still angry, and part of me wonders if I could have handled it differently. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister use my house for her wedding after she ignored all my boundaries and tried to force it anyway. AITA for refusing to give my parents access to my savings, even though they said they deserve compensation for raising me. I'm 24, female, and currently finishing my master's degree. I've lived with my parents most of my life, except for undergrad, when I was away at college. I've always had a complicated relationship with them, especially about money. My parents have always been the "you owe us everything" type. I grew up hearing about how expensive I was, how my mom had to sacrifice her dreams for me, and how my dad worked himself to the bone so I could have a good life. It wasn't just normal parental venting, it was constant. Every time I bought something with my part-time job money, there would be comments like, "Must be nice to waste money when your parents paid for your existence." When I turned 18, my parents opened a joint savings account for me to help teach me responsibility. I later realized that joint really meant we can dip into it whenever we want. I found out because my dad used the money once to cover a car repair, and my mom took $500 from it for a family emergency that turned out to be new furniture. I didn't confront them because I was living under their roof and dependent on them, but it always stayed in the back of my mind. When I started college, I worked part-time and later got scholarships. I opened a completely separate savings account under only my name. Over the past few years, I've managed to save around $45,000 through jobs, scholarships, and freelancing. I'm proud of it. It's my safety net, my future house deposit, my independence fund. My parents didn't know about it until last month. The way they found out was honestly bad luck. I was helping my mom with some paperwork and accidentally left an email open on my laptop that showed an account balance. When she saw it, she froze, then immediately called my dad. Within an hour, I was in the living room being interrogated about where all that money came from and why I was hiding it. I tried to explain that it was from work and scholarships, but they were furious that I kept secrets from them. My dad said it was disrespectful and sneaky because family should share everything. My mom said it was ungrateful that I didn't offer to contribute to household bills, especially since I've been living at home during grad school. They started demanding that I give them access to the money for family expenses. When I refused, they escalated, saying they've spent hundreds of thousands raising me and that I owe them. My dad literally said, "If we charged rent all these years, you'd be broke. You've been freeloading." I reminded them I pay for my own food, gas, tuition, and most of my expenses, but that didn't matter. My mom said, "We deserve some compensation for all our sacrifices." Since then, they've been passive-aggressive nonstop. My dad said I can't live in the house for free anymore and wants me to start paying $1,000 a month in rent. My mom has been guilt-tripping me daily, saying I've become cold and selfish. I've been looking for places to move out, but rent around here is high, and I still have a semester left before graduation. What really made things explode was last week. I came home from class and noticed my desk drawer was open and my banking folder was gone. I confronted my parents, and my dad admitted he took the folder because he needed to verify the account details. I was shocked. I told them this was theft and invasion of privacy, and I said if they touched my money, I would go to the bank and change everything immediately. My dad said, "Don't you dare threaten us with legal talk. We're your parents." I went straight to the bank the next day, changed my account number, and put a fraud alert on it. That made them even angrier. My dad said I'm treating them like criminals, and my mom cried, saying I've destroyed the family trust. Now my relatives are involved. My aunt, dad's sister, called and said I was being cruel and disrespectful, that family means sharing. But my cousin, who's around my age, told me she's not surprised because my parents did similar stuff to her when she lived with them during college. Apparently, they once took her tax refund for bills and never paid it back. My parents keep switching between guilt trips and threats. Sometimes they say they'll kick me out if I don't start contributing. Other times they say I can stay if I show appreciation by giving them a family gift from my savings. They even suggested I transfer a good faith $10,000 to them. I refused again. This morning, my dad told me I have until the end of the month to either help with expenses or find another place to live. He said he's not backing down on principle. My mom told me to think about how heartless it looks that I'm hoarding money while my parents are struggling. For context, my dad makes around $120,000 a year, and my mom works part-time, so they're not exactly destitute. They just like to spend new furniture every year, expensive vacations, the latest gadgets. I'm planning to move in with a friend temporarily while I finish school, but I feel torn. On one hand, I feel completely justified. It's my money. I earned it, and I've been responsible with it. On the other, I can't shake the guilt. They did raise me, pay for things when I was younger, and I understand that parenting costs money. But I don't believe that means I owe them financial payback like some kind of investment return. My mom keeps saying, "You'll understand when you have kids." Maybe she's right. Maybe I will. But I also think love and support aren't supposed to come with an invoice attached. I've cried a lot over this. Part of me feels like I'm betraying them by putting up boundaries, but another part of me feels like I've finally stopped being manipulated. Now my parents won't really talk to me except to remind me of the deadline. I'm packing my things quietly, trying not to make it worse. My cousin told me to cut contact once I leave, but that feels extreme. I keep wondering if I really am the bad guy for not wanting to share what I worked so hard to build. So, AITA for refusing to give my parents access to my savings, even though they insist they deserve it for raising me. AITA for refusing to attend my brother's wedding after finding out I was basically being used as the backup bridesmaid. So, some background. I'm 27F, my brother Luke is 29M, and his fiancée, now wife, is Emma, 28F. Luke and I have always been close, even as adults. I helped him through some rough breakups. He helped me move apartments a few times. We've always been the kind of siblings who actually talk and hang out. So when he got engaged, I was genuinely excited. I thought I'd be a big part of it all, since we're close and Emma and I get along decently well. About a year before the wedding, Emma asked me to be a bridesmaid. I was happy to say yes. She told me the wedding would have 5 bridesmaids, all close friends of hers, and me. I didn't mind being the sister add-on. I figured that was pretty normal. We had a group chat, went dress shopping, all the usual wedding prep stuff. Everything seemed fine until about 3 months before the wedding. That's when things started feeling weird. Emma suddenly stopped including me in the group chat. At first, I thought maybe she just made a new one or something got lost in the shuffle. But then one of the other bridesmaids posted photos of a bridesmaid spa day that I hadn't even heard about. I texted Emma asking if maybe there was a mix-up, and she replied something like, "Oh, sorry, it was a last-minute thing. Next time for sure." Except there wasn't a next time. Over the next month, I was excluded from every single wedding-related event. The group chat went silent for me. When I asked Luke about it, he seemed awkward and said he didn't know what was going on, but that I should trust Emma because she was under a lot of stress. 2 weeks later, I got an email from Emma. Yes, an email saying that due to changes in the wedding plan, she had to restructure the bridal party. Basically, I was being released from bridesmaid duties. Her reason? She wanted an even number of bridesmaids and groomsmen, and one of her friends had reconciled with her after a falling out, so she wanted to include her. She wrote that she hoped I'd still attend the wedding as a guest and celebrate their love. I was honestly stunned. Like, who fires someone for being a bridesmaid 2 months before the wedding? I felt humiliated. I'd already paid for my dress, which cost nearly $300, shoes, and part of a bachelorette trip that I now wasn't even invited to. I went to Luke, furious. I told him I felt disrespected and that Emma had handled it in a really cruel way. He got defensive immediately. He said Emma had agonized over the decision and that it wasn't personal, just logistical. I asked if he honestly believed that, and he just said, "It's her day. Can't we just make it easy for her?" That was the start of a serious argument between us. I told him I'd spent money and time on all this, and that being dropped like an afterthought was beyond hurtful. He said he'd pay me back for the dress and trip if that would make it better, but I told him it wasn't about money. It was about how I was treated. A week later, my mom got involved. She called me saying I needed to let it go because these things happen and it's not worth damaging your relationship with your brother over a wedding. But it was worth it to me because it wasn't just about being uninvited. It was about how casually Emma and Luke dismissed my feelings. So I told them I wouldn't be attending the wedding at all. I said I hoped it was beautiful, but I didn't want to sit there smiling in the crowd after being publicly downgraded from family participant to background prop. That apparently set off a storm. Luke accused me of being dramatic and making the day about myself. Emma sent me another email again, saying she was heartbroken that I'd choose to boycott their celebration. My parents were split. My dad thought I had every right to skip it. My mom thought I was punishing Luke for his wife's mistake. The wedding happened without me. For what I heard, it was fine. But afterward, my relationship with Luke completely changed. He's distant now. We talk maybe once every few weeks, mostly about surface-level stuff. Emma hasn't spoken to me since. Last month, my mom tried to organize a family dinner, and Emma said she wouldn't come if I was there. Luke sided with her, and they skipped it. My mom told me I should apologize just to make peace, but I don't feel like I did anything wrong. For context, I never made a scene, didn't badmouth them to anyone, didn't post anything online. I just quietly bowed out. But apparently, some extended family members are saying I'm petty for skipping such an important day. A cousin told me Luke still feels hurt that I abandoned him. Now, I'm torn. Part of me thinks I should have just swallowed my pride and gone for his sake. But another part of me feels like I had to draw the line somewhere. If I'd shown up smiling, it would have signaled that they could treat me however they wanted and I'd still show up. It's been almost a year since the wedding, and the tension hasn't faded. Luke and Emma recently announced they're expecting a baby, and I was the last to find out my mom accidentally mentioned it. I congratulated him, and he responded with a short, "Thanks, we'll keep you posted." That hurt, because I always imagined being an active aunt. Now I keep wondering if I ruined our relationship permanently just by standing up for myself. Did I take it too far? Or was I justified in refusing to go to a wedding where I was clearly unwanted? I don't know if I was protecting my dignity or just being stubborn, but the fallout has lasted so long that I'm honestly starting to doubt myself. Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how my parents treated me? So here's the backstory. I'm 28F, and I have a younger sister, 24F. Growing up, our parents have always been super close with my sister, like painfully obvious favoritism from early on. It wasn't just little things here and there. It was the kind of favoritism that shaped my entire childhood and made me feel like the black sheep of the family. I'm sure a lot of people have experienced sibling rivalry or parental favoritism, but this was on another level. From the time we were kids, my sister got everything handed to her. The best toys, the latest gadgets, the best schools, and every family vacation was planned around her interests. I was expected to be grateful for what I got and to keep quiet. If I ever complained or asked for something, my parents would either brush me off or compare me negatively to my sister. "Why can't you be more like her?" was a constant refrain, and I internalized a lot of that shame and inadequacy for years. The stark difference between how I was treated versus my sister was always there. When she got a scholarship for her dream college, my parents threw a huge party, flew relatives in, and gave her a new laptop, a camera, and all sorts of gifts to celebrate. When I graduated from college with honors, my parents barely said anything. No party, no gifts, no congratulations. They just mentioned, "Good job," but not surprising really. The emotional favoritism continued into adulthood. My sister has had some struggles with mental health and relationships, and our parents have always gone above and beyond to support her, sometimes to the detriment of their own financial stability and emotional health. Meanwhile, I had to figure things out mostly on my own and couldn't count on them for help, even with things like moving across states or tough career decisions. I know my parents love her, but the way they treat me makes it feel like I'm a burden or an afterthought. Fast forward to now, my sister got engaged about a year ago, and the wedding plans started immediately. From the start, I had a gut feeling that things would be similar to the past. My sister and parents focusing on her, leaving me on the sidelines. I try to stay positive and hopeful that things will be different this time because, after all, it's a big milestone for her. But then the invitations went out and the treatment started all over again. My parents insisted on paying for everything for my sister and invited tons of their friends and relatives I barely know, but I was expected to cover my own travel, accommodation, and even my own dress. When I brought up the fact that this felt unfair, my mom just said, "This is your sister's special day, not about you. You can be there or not." I also asked if I could help with any of the planning or preparations, hoping to feel more involved, but they said they already had everything handled or that it wasn't my place to get involved. Even when my sister asked for my help with some smaller things, like helping choose music or flowers, she later told me she'd change her mind because she wanted it to be perfect and didn't want to complicate things. So basically, I was expected to show up, look nice, and be happy for them, but I wasn't really welcome as an equal participant. The breaking point came when my sister's bridesmaids were being chosen. I was never considered for the role, despite being the closest family member to her in age and the only sister she has. My parents are the ones who helped pick the bridesmaids, and all of them were my sister's close friends from college or work. When I asked why I wasn't asked, my mom said, "You're family. You don't need to be a bridesmaid." It's different. That hurt, but I still want to try to make the best of it. I kept trying to get involved or contribute, but my efforts were either ignored or subtly dismissed. The last straw was when my parents invited me over for dinner to talk about the wedding, and they told me they didn't want me to bring my fiancé, who I've been with for 3 years, because they wanted a girls-only planning night with my sister and mom. They didn't even ask if I wanted to bring him or if he was available. They just assumed he wasn't welcome. I got really upset at that point and told them that if they were going to treat me like an outsider in my own family and exclude me like this, I didn't want to attend the wedding. I explained how hurtful it was to see them dote on my sister and completely ignore my feelings and contributions. My parents got defensive, accused me of being selfish and trying to ruin the wedding, and said that I was overreacting and should just be happy for my sister. I stuck to my decision and told them I wouldn't be attending unless things changed. My sister was also upset and said I was being dramatic and selfish for ruining her special day. My fiancé supports me and thinks my parents' behavior has been unfair and emotionally damaging. Now, I'm wondering if I'm actually the asshole here. I'm trying to stand up for myself and set boundaries, but at the same time, it's my sister's wedding, and maybe I'm supposed to just put my feelings aside and show up. My parents and sister think I'm being unreasonable, and that family means putting aside differences for big events. Am I overreacting or justified in refusing to be a part of this? I want to hear your thoughts. AITA? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her groom? So, I, 28F, have a younger sister, Emily, 25F, who is getting married in a couple of months. For the longest time, Emily and I were really close. We grew up in a small town with our parents, and while we had our usual sibling arguments, I always thought we were tight-knit. Emily has always been more outgoing than me and was the star of our family. She excelled in everything and had a large circle of friends, while I was more reserved and kept to myself. Despite that, we always made an effort to stay close. About a year ago, Emily met her now fiancé, Mike. From the beginning, I didn't like him. This wasn't just a minor annoyance or a weird vibe. I found him controlling and dismissive. When Emily introduced him to the family, he was polite enough, but something about his attitude rubbed me the wrong way. He made a lot of snide remarks disguised as jokes, especially aimed at my introverted nature and my career choice. I'm a freelance writer and work from home, so it's not a traditional job, and he seemed to look down on that. Emily brushed it off, saying I was being too sensitive. Over time, my concerns grew. Mike started to isolate Emily from us. He discouraged her from attending family events, subtly criticized her interests and choices, and I witnessed him gaslighting her on multiple occasions. For example, one time she told me she wanted to attend a friend's birthday party, but Mike insisted she stay home because real adults don't waste time on such frivolities. When she tried to explain this to me, she seemed unsure if she was overreacting, but I knew what was going on. Emily and Mike's relationship became increasingly toxic, but Emily was so infatuated that she refused to see it. I tried to bring it up gently, but she would always defend him or accuse me of trying to sabotage her happiness. It was heartbreaking because I wanted her to be happy, but I also didn't want to watch her spiral. Fast forward to now, Emily is planning her wedding. I was initially excited and wanted to be involved, but the moment Mike got more say in the plans, things changed. He demanded a guest list of only close friends and family, which meant cutting out a lot of people from Emily's childhood and my side of the family. He also insisted on controlling the seating arrangements and was outright rude to the wedding planner, who confided in me that Mike's behavior was stressful. The biggest issue came a few weeks ago when Emily told me Mike did not want me at the wedding. According to her, Mike said I was a negative influence and not supportive, so Emily felt compelled to agree with him to avoid conflict. I was devastated and confused. Emily said she loved me, but wanted to avoid drama, which felt like a euphemism for giving Mike control over her life. I begged her to reconsider, explaining that if Mike really cared about her, he would want her to keep her family close, not push them away. She said I was making it about me and that I should respect her decision. I am torn. I want to be there for my sister, but I can't support a wedding where the groom is so blatantly disrespectful to me and the people who love her. I feel like if I show up, I'm enabling his toxic behavior. On the other hand, I don't want to lose my sister forever over this, but at the same time, I can't force her to see the truth. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her groom? Would it make me the bad guy for prioritizing my boundaries over family unity? I just want what's best for Emily, even if that means stepping back. AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house after he deliberately destroyed my furniture and then blamed me. I, 29F, have always tried to be the responsible older sibling to my younger sister, Emily, 25F. We grew up in a pretty average household, and I work hard to build a stable life after college. I have a steady job in marketing, a nice apartment in the city, and generally live a pretty low-key life. Emily, on the other hand, has always been more spontaneous and free-spirited, which is fine by me. We get along well enough, but I've always had boundaries about my space and my belongings, especially now that I'm an adult with my own life. About a year ago, Emily started dating this guy named Jason. At first, I thought he was charming enough. Funny, outgoing, seemed supportive. But I started getting a weird vibe after a few months. He seemed a bit manipulative, especially around Emily, who I noticed got more anxious and less herself when he was around. I try not to jump to conclusions because it's not my place to meddle in their relationship, but I quietly kept an eye out. Fast forward a few months, Jason came over to my apartment a couple of times. The first visit was fine, but the second visit rubbed me the wrong way. He got drunk pretty quickly, was loud, and left a huge mess. I'd been cleaning all morning, and by the end of the night, my couch had a red wine stain that wouldn't come out and some scratches on my coffee table. I confronted Jason gently, assuming he didn't realize, but he completely denied it. Emily defended him, saying maybe I had done it myself or it happened another way. It was weird and upsetting, but I let it go because I didn't want to create a rift between my sister and me. Things got worse. About 2 months ago, Emily and Jason had a big fight. She was upset and asked if she could stay at my place for a few days while she sorted things out. Being the supportive sister, I said yes. She stayed with me for a week, and Jason was nowhere in sight. She seemed to appreciate the space and told me she was considering breaking up with him. But then Jason started texting Emily nonstop, begging her to come back and threatening that he'd harm himself if she didn't. I tried to support Emily through this toxic behavior, encouraging her to block him, but she was hesitant. One evening, she came over after a fight and said Jason was showing up at her workplace and her friends' houses, and she was scared. I told her she was always welcome at my place, but she was worried Jason would come to my apartment too. About a week later, Emily called me in tears, telling me Jason had gotten into an argument with his roommate and had nowhere to stay. She asked if I could let him crash at my place for a few days until he got back on his feet. I was reluctant, but said okay because I didn't want to leave her in the lurch. That turned out to be a huge mistake. Jason came over that night with one bag. At first, everything seemed fine. He was polite and kept to himself. But a couple of days in, I started noticing things missing or out of place. My bookshelves were rearranged, and some of my kitchenware was gone. I asked Jason about it, and he shrugged it off like it was no big deal. Then, one evening, I came home from work to find my living room completely trashed. My coffee table was shattered into pieces on the floor. My sofa cushions had large tears, and my rug was stained with what looked like paint or something similar. I was horrified and immediately confronted Jason. He looked at me and said, "Well, if you hadn't been so controlling about your furniture, I wouldn't have snapped." I was stunned. I asked him what he meant, and he said I was too uptight and didn't know how to let loose, so he had taken out his frustration on my stuff. I told him he was being childish and disrespectful, and that I wanted him out immediately. Emily called me the next day, furious that I kicked Jason out, accusing me of ruining their relationship and making her boyfriend feel unwelcome. I tried to explain that it wasn't about their relationship. It was about him damaging my property and disrespecting my home. Emily accused me of being selfish and unsupportive, saying I should have been more understanding of Jason's rough patch. She said I didn't care about her feelings or what she was going through. I've since changed the locks on my apartment, and Emily hasn't spoken to me much. Our relationship feels strained, and I'm starting to question whether I was wrong to refuse Jason's stay or if I was justified in standing my ground. I'm really upset because I thought I was being a good sister, but now I'm being painted as the villain. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house after he destroyed my furniture and blamed me. AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after he insulted my career and tried to control my life. I, 33F, have always been the responsible one in my family. I work as a software engineer and have built a stable life for myself in a big city, which I moved to about 8 years ago. My sister, Lily, 29F, on the other hand, has been more of a free spirit. She's kind, creative, and has always been a little more laid back about life, something that's both a source of friction and affection between us. Recently, though, things have escalated in a way I never expected. Lily got engaged about 6 months ago to a guy named Marcus, 34M. Marcus and I had met a few times before, mostly at family gatherings, and I had a neutral to positive impression of him at first. He's charming, confident, and seems successful in his own right. He works in sales. But as time went on, I noticed more and more little things that rubbed me the wrong way. The biggest issue came a few weeks ago. Marcus was visiting me in my apartment. Lily was out of town for work. Marcus had never been to my place alone before, and I was showing him around because he was interested in the kind of tech setup I had. I was excited to share my hobby and work environment. Things started out fine, but then Marcus made a dismissive comment about my career. He said, "It's cute how you think coding is a real job. It's like you're just playing on a computer all day. You don't really make anything tangible." I don't know how Lily respects that. I was taken aback. I tried to brush it off at first, but I couldn't believe he would say something so condescending. I told him, actually, software engineering is a serious profession. I design and develop applications used by millions of people. It's the backbone of modern business and technology. He smirked and said, "Yeah, sure, but you don't deal with real people, real money, real results like I do. Sales is where the real work happens. Coding is just a tool for people like me." I was furious. I told him that sales might be his thing, but belittling other people's careers was not acceptable. He rolled his eyes and changed the subject, but the damage was done. A few days later, Lily called me excitedly, telling me she and Marcus had picked a date for the wedding. She invited me over for dinner that weekend to discuss plans. When I arrived, Marcus was already there, and the tension was palpable. During dinner, Marcus kept making little passive-aggressive comments. He criticized my cooking when I tried to serve a homemade dish, saying, "You should stick to your computer stuff and leave the kitchen to the pros." He also kept interrupting conversations and talking over me. I tried to stay calm, but it was exhausting. After dinner, as Lily and I were cleaning up, Marcus pulled me aside. He told me I needed to chill out and stop taking everything so seriously. Then, shockingly, he said, "Lily deserves someone who supports her, not someone who's always so uptight and rigid. Maybe if you loosened up, she wouldn't feel the need to hide things from you." That comment cut deep. I have always tried to be a good sister to Lily, supporting her choices even when I didn't agree. I don't know what things he thought she was hiding, but I felt like he was trying to paint me as the villain. The next day, I sent Lily a message explaining how uncomfortable I was around Marcus and how his comments hurt me. I also told her I wouldn't feel comfortable having him stay at my place if they visited, given his attitude. Lily got very defensive. She said I was being petty and trying to sabotage their relationship. She accused me of being jealous and controlling. Our conversations devolved into arguments, and she said I was making the family tense and that maybe I should just back off. Things got worse when Marcus showed up at my apartment unannounced a week later while Lily was visiting me. He wanted to borrow my car for a few hours. I refused and told him I wasn't comfortable with him being in my space, given everything that had happened. He argued that he was family now and had a right to use the car, but I stood firm. After he left, I called Lily to explain what happened. She was furious, saying I was being unreasonable and disrespectful. She accused me of driving a wedge between her and her fiancé. At this point, I don't know how to proceed. I love my sister and want her to be happy, but I can't tolerate the way Marcus disrespects me and tries to control my actions. I don't want to be hostile or cause family drama, but I also can't just accept someone who dismisses my career and tries to belittle me. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house or borrow my things after he insulted my career and tried to control my life. Or should I just loosen up, like he said, and accept him for the sake of family peace? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of the dress code and the way she's been treating me. So, this is a long one, and honestly, I'm still torn about whether I'm in the wrong here or not. My sister, let's call her Emily, is getting married in a few months. We're not super close, but we've always maintained a decent sibling relationship. Nothing super tight, but not bad either. Over the last year, though, things have gotten really weird, and now I'm at a crossroads. Emily is marrying this guy, Mike, who she met about a year ago. From the outside, he seems fine, but I've had some bad vibes about him that I try to brush off. Anyway, the issue started when she sent out the wedding invitations about 2 months ago. On the invite, it clearly states the dress code as formal black tie. That's fine, I get it. Weddings can be fancy. However, when I asked her about specifics, she mentioned the women should wear long gowns only and that the colors should be from a very limited palette. Basically neutral tones, no bright colors or patterns, and absolutely no red because that clashes with the bridesmaids' dresses. I found it a bit excessive, but figured it's her wedding and I'd go along with it. I'm not the type to make a fuss. So, I started shopping for a dress. I'm not really into the whole black tie thing, but I managed to find something nice and elegant that fits the color scheme. Then, I told Emily about it, and that's when things started to go downhill. She said the dress I picked was not formal enough, which I thought was odd because it was a floor-length gown, classic style, good fabric. When I asked what she meant, she explained that she expected a very specific look. The gown had to be designer, no exceptions, and it had to be from a specific brand she had sent me links to. Basically, she wanted everyone in these exact dresses or dresses that were basically replicas. I told her I couldn't afford a $1,200 dress for a day. That was ridiculous for me. I have a decent job, but I live paycheck to paycheck, and that kind of money for a dress is just not possible. I also pointed out that the invitation didn't say designer only, and this was the first time she was telling me this. Emily got super upset and said I was undermining her wedding vision and being selfish by refusing to comply. At that point, I told her I was trying to respect her wishes, but she was being unreasonable. Then she dropped the bomb. She said that if I didn't wear one of the specific dresses, I wasn't allowed to be part of the ceremony or photos, and basically that she might reconsider having me at the wedding at all. She also said that she had told her fiancé and his family about this, and they were on board. I felt like I was being bullied over a dress. I told her I wanted to come to her wedding and support her, but I couldn't drop $1,200 on a dress, and that the dress code should be inclusive for family. She started ignoring my messages, and I haven't heard from her since. Now, here's the thing. My parents are trying to mediate, and they think Emily's being too harsh. They also reminded me that it's her day, and I should respect her wishes. I get both sides. I want to be there for my sister, but I also feel like she's gone overboard and is basically punishing me for not spending that kind of money. I ended up telling her I won't be attending if she insists on this designer-only dress code because I simply can't afford it and I won't be bullied over it. Now, my mom is mad at me, saying I'm causing family drama and that I should just make it work. My dad is more understanding, but worried this is damaging our relationship. My friends say I'm right to stand my ground, but part of me feels guilty and wonders if I'm the asshole here. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because I won't spend $1,200 on a designer dress she demands. Or, am I being unreasonable by expecting her to accept a nice formal dress that doesn't break my bank? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house after he caused a massive argument that tore my family apart? So, this is a pretty long story, but I need to get this off my chest and get some perspective because things have escalated in ways I never imagined. I, 28F, live in a medium-sized city, working a stable job in tech. My family is complicated. My younger sister, Emma, 24F, has always been the wild one. She's bubbly, adventurous, but also kind of reckless when it comes to relationships. I'm more reserved and cautious, and sometimes that difference causes friction. Emma started dating this guy, Jake, about 6 months ago. At first, I didn't mind him much, but I wasn't thrilled either. Something about him rubbed me the wrong way, but I tried to keep an open mind. He was a bit too brash and confrontational for my taste, but Emma seemed happy, so I didn't say much. Fast forward a few months. Emma's relationship with Jake started to affect the family dynamic in ways I hadn't anticipated. Jake is very possessive and controlling, something Emma barely acknowledges. A few weeks ago, Emma came over to my place after an argument with Jake. She looked visibly upset and told me that Jake didn't want her talking to any of her old friends and family without him being there. She laughed it off, saying it was his insecure side, but I felt alarmed. I advised her to be careful, but didn't push too hard because I didn't want to alienate her. The real trouble started when Jake asked if he could stay in my apartment for a few days. His place was being renovated, and he supposedly needed a temporary spot. I declined firmly, explaining that I value my personal space and that we barely knew each other. Emma was upset, but I stood my ground. About a week later, Emma called me in tears, telling me Jake had shown up at her place and caused a huge scene because she was talking to a friend on the phone, something Jake explicitly forbade. Emma said she was scared of him and didn't know what to do. I offered to let her stay with me, but she refused, saying she didn't want to cause problems or make things worse. Then came the biggest blow. Jake somehow found out where I live, which I hadn't told Emma or anyone else, and showed up unannounced at my apartment. He was aggressive and confrontational, demanding that I let him stay there. I told him no and asked him to leave. He refused and started yelling, accusing me of trying to control Emma's life and being a bad sister. I called the police, and they escorted him out. That same night, Emma called me furious, saying I had betrayed her trust and was taking Jake's side. Things exploded after that. Our parents got involved. They sided mostly with Emma, saying I was being unreasonable and harsh. Emma threatened to cut me out of her life if I didn't accept Jake. I tried to explain that I was worried about her safety and that Jake's behavior was abusive, but it felt like no one was listening. My parents told me I was overreacting and pushing Emma away, and that Jake just needed a chance. I stood my ground, saying I couldn't welcome someone into my home who had disrespected me and threatened me. Since then, the family gatherings have become tense or non-existent. Emma barely talks to me, and the rest of the family avoids me or treats me like the villain. I've tried reaching out multiple times to reconcile, but Emma ignores my calls and texts. I feel like I'm caught between protecting my own boundaries and trying to keep the family together, but no one seems to understand where I'm coming from. I'm scared that by standing up to Jake, I've lost my sister and fractured my family. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house after he showed up uninvited and caused a scene? Was I too harsh or unreasonable? Should I have tried harder to accommodate Jake for the sake of family peace? Or was I right to protect myself and not enable his behavior? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay in my house after he treated my dog horribly? I, 32F, live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a city where space is at a premium. I have a dog named Max, a rescue lab mix, who is like family to me. I adopted him 5 years ago when he was a puppy, and he's been my companion through some pretty tough times. He's well-trained, affectionate, and pretty much the light of my life. My sister, Emily, 28F, has always been a little difficult when it comes to responsibility. She's smart and talented, but she struggled with maintaining steady jobs and relationships. About 6 months ago, she started dating a guy named Jason. At first, I was cautiously optimistic. Jason seemed charming and funny when I met him, but there was something off about the way he treated animals that I couldn't shake. He didn't seem to understand why my dog was important to me, and once, during a family dinner, he joked about dogs being just dumb animals. I was uncomfortable, but didn't say much. Things took a turn a couple of months ago when Emily asked if Jason could stay in my apartment for a few days while he was in town for work. I was hesitant, but said yes because I wanted to support my sister. Jason stayed in my living room, and I made sure to keep Max away from him as much as possible. I noticed that Jason was dismissive toward Max. He would ignore him or tell him to get away, but I thought that was just a personality clash. One evening, I came home late from work, and Max was acting very strange. whimpering and hiding under the couch. I found Jason sitting on the floor, having apparently tried to train Max by harshly yelling at him and even pushing him away when Max got near. I was furious. I confronted Jason about it, telling him that Max is not a tool for his amusement or discipline and that I expect respect from my dog. Jason rolled his eyes and said I was overreacting and spoiling the dog. Emily didn't say much, but later told me that Jason doesn't really like dogs and that maybe I was making too big a deal out of it. That night, I told Emily that I was uncomfortable having Jason stay with me anymore and that I wouldn't be letting him back into my apartment. Emily got really defensive and accused me of being controlling and mean to her boyfriend. She insisted that Jason was a good person and that I was overreacting again. I stood my ground. A week later, Emily called me in tears, saying that Jason broke up with her because I poisoned her family against him. She said that she was hurt because I wouldn't even give Jason a second chance and accused me of choosing a dog over family. I felt awful, but honestly, I couldn't forgive Jason's behavior toward Max. I told Emily I cared about her and I wanted to support her, but I couldn't compromise my values or Max's well-being. Since then, Emily has been avoiding me, and our parents are caught in the middle. They think I should apologize to Jason and Emily to keep the peace, but I don't feel like I did anything wrong. Jason's behavior was disrespectful and borderline abusive toward my dog, and Emily seems unwilling to stand up for what's right. I'm wondering if I was too harsh or if I should have handled this differently. AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my place after he treated my dog badly? Or should I have prioritized my sister's feelings more? I feel torn between loyalty to my family and standing up for what I believe in. Thanks for reading. AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she insulted me at my own birthday party. This whole situation is a mess, and I honestly don't even know where to start, but I'll try to lay it out as clearly as possible. I, 30F, come from a pretty close-knit family, or at least I thought we were close-knit until recently. I have a sister, Emma, 27F, who's always been the more outgoing and confident one. I'm more introverted and tend to keep to myself, so our personalities have never exactly matched, but I always tried to support her, especially since she's been through some rough patches. Last year, Emma got engaged, and her fiancé's family is very traditional and wealthy. They expect a big, fancy wedding, and Emma has been dreaming about this for years. I was genuinely happy for her and said I'd help in any way I could, but there was a catch she made pretty clear early on. She wanted me to contribute financially because her fiancé's family isn't covering everything. I told her I'd help as much as I could, but I'm not exactly swimming in money. I have a modest job and some student loans, so I can't throw down thousands on a party. At first, things seemed fine. She sent me a list of costs and told me what she expected, and I agreed to chip in a reasonable amount that fit my budget. Then came the planning, and the drama started. Emma began complaining a lot about what she thought was my lack of enthusiasm or commitment. She'd get passive-aggressive about the dress I picked for the bridesmaids or the fact that I wasn't as involved in planning as she was. I explained that I was busy with work and life, but she brushed it off and made comments about me not being family-oriented or not caring about her big day. It hurt, but I tried to ignore it. Then, about 2 months before her wedding, my birthday party happened, which I'd invited most of my family to. I planned a small gathering at a local restaurant. Nothing big, just close family and a few friends. Emma showed up late, clearly annoyed about something. During the party, she got into an argument with me about how I wasn't being supportive enough of her wedding. I tried to stay calm, but she got louder, accusing me of being selfish and jealous of her happiness. The worst part was when she said, and I quote, "You'll never be anything but the boring sister who's stuck in her sad little life. Maybe if you care more, I wouldn't have to drag you along for this wedding." The room went silent. I was stunned and hurt. Some family members tried to intervene, but Emma stormed out, leaving everyone awkward and upset. After that, I told her I wasn't comfortable contributing any more money, especially after how she treated me in front of everyone. She called me selfish and ungrateful, and our parents told me I should just apologize and make things right for the sake of family. But honestly, I don't feel like I did anything wrong except try to support her on my own terms. Emma's wedding was last weekend. She didn't invite me to the rehearsal dinner, and she barely spoke to me at the ceremony. I didn't go to the reception because I didn't want to be around her, and I haven't spoken to her since. The rest of my family is divided. Some think I should forgive and forget. Others agree she crossed a line. I just want to know if I'm the asshole for refusing to pay after how she treated me. Was I wrong to stand my ground? Or should I have swallowed my pride and kept supporting her despite the insults? I'm feeling really torn and hurt right now. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.